people. I'm super excited. I decided to do another series. So we just wrapped up a series. We did the summer sales series. I sent out the recording to that to anybody who wanted it. We did probably about 8 sessions over the summertime to help you accelerate your sales and set the foundation to get you ready to finish the year strong. And that series was super powerful. But I've been really feeling pulled and called to have a different conversation and to have a conversation around what it takes. Well, around a few things. And I guess I'll say this. I will say that there is a level of transparency that is required in order for more business owners to cross over into the $1 million mark. And here's how I feel about making $1 million in your business, especially now that I'm here and have been here for some time. And I'll talk about that in a second. But what I know is that my goal to hit 6 figures for the first time in my business was a big goal for me. But when I was there, I was still in struggle mode. And so I really feel like the $1 million mark is the baseline mark for you to actually be able to have a viable business where you can make decisions and scale. I'm going to be talking a lot about this during this series. 100K is just the pregame. It's just the warm up. 100K is the building blocks to a successful business. Once you learn how to make 6 figures, then you learn how to master the art of making money faster. So doing 6 figures faster and faster. And that's one of the things I teach my clients how to do. So we're looking at this little chunk of, okay, I create 6 figures in a year. How do I do it in 6 months? How do I do it in a quarter? How do I do it in a day? How do I do it in a single sale, right? And it changes the pressure we put on ourselves. And so I feel like in order for more people to get to that point where they have a really viable business that could actually sustain them and could grow, there's a level of transparency that we don't have about what's really required to get there. So this is my 4th $1 million year. And while I know my challenges and the challenges may be different if you're not quite there yet, there are some key things that I know for a fact are keeping your business stuck. So if you've been hovering around the same revenue level year after year, no matter what it is, it could be 200,000, it could be 700,000, it could be 50,000. If you've been hovering around the same revenue level year after year, and you've been feeling exhaustedly tired about bumping your head against that invisible income ceiling, and what's happening is this: you're doing the same things again and again without seeing any better results, right? And sometimes the same thing is not just taking the same action. Sometimes, the same thing that you're doing again and again is literally trying all kinds of different strategies, hoping that one's going to pop. It's going to be the big thing that makes you know, right? Everybody has heard the quote. Not everyone, but many of you have heard, you're one funnel away. So let me just try to figure out the funnel, the strategy, the tactic, the platform that if I do it over here, it's going to make everything work. A way to post, a way to show up. Is it reels? Is it live? So what I mean by that is like literally the same thing you could be doing over and over again is literally investing in a different strategy, hiring more different team member, another team member, joining different programs, mastermind. Maybe it's this coach, maybe this person's the person for me. Maybe I need this person to mentor me. And no matter what you try, you are still stuck where you are. You're still stuck at the 6-figure mark or below, unable to break that ceiling. And here's the thing, I've been there and I've done that. I was stuck for a very long time before I figured this stuff out, which is why I'm so transparent about what I share. Question for you is this, and I want to know if you're brave enough to answer this question and just sit with me. So today I'm going to introduce you to this series, and it's just a heart-to-heart conversation where I want you to pull up a comfy chair and just sit with what I'm saying today. And as we unfold this series over the next few weeks, which I'm going to be going live 2 to 3 times a week to share with you, because this is really pressing for me. As this unfolds, we're going to have deeper and deeper conversations around strategy and how things work. But the bravery comes in this, really looking at where you stand in your business this year at this point, not from a pie in the sky, I can still do it sort of place, but where are you? What are the facts, right? So I'm going to give you a few questions that I want you to journal out. I'll repeat them again. towards the end, because I do have some things I want to share to lay the foundation for this conversation we're going to be having, and we're going to kick it off. So this is our opening conversation, and then I'm going to kick it off next week because I'll be with my coach for our mastermind starting tomorrow. I'll be jumping on a plane and spending the rest of the week there working on my own business. So first question is, where do you stand with your business this year? Second question is, are you on pace to hit your goals? So write that question down. Are you behind? Are you ahead of schedule? Right? And the honest truth is, having a look at this right now at this point in the game, I don't know how many days we have, a little over 100 days left in the year, could be one of the scariest questions you ask yourself. But it's so necessary, because if you don't know where you are now in this moment, you have no way of adjusting or pivoting to get where you need to be. You're just going to be running around trying stuff, hoping that things are going to land. So first thing we need to do is get a gauge on where we are. So here's what I'm doing. Here's what we're going to do over the next few weeks to help you get your head in the right game, because you can be playing games. You can be in the game, but it's not the game that you should be in. And so I want to do this with you over the next few weeks. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to inspire you. I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to hold you accountable to becoming the person who can create the six-figure months that you desire to create, right? And we're going to kick this off starting today. So this new series is called Raise Your Game. So it's the Raise Your Game series. So when you see Raise Your Game in the caption, know it's part of this series, because it's time for you to stop playing small. It's time for you to stop earning underneath what you know the provision of God is for your life. And you know this, and I know this. So I want you to get really serious about making your millions. Until I was honest and serious about even my desire to make millions in my business, it wasn't really a probability. I can see that was one of the key moments or the key decisions that allowed me to even be able to begin to create on a level of having my first six-figure month. Because up until the point where I was doing my first six-figure month, I wanted to have a six-figure month. I wasn't even trying to make $1 million. I just wanted to have a six-figure month. I had a belief, and a highly held belief, a closely held belief, that I didn't want to run $1 million business. And I had a list of all of these reasons why $1 million business was just too much for me, and I'd be okay at $500,000 or even 700,000 would be great, but I didn't need $1 million business. And until I met myself in the mirror and was honest about the fact that, no, I literally do desire to run a multi-million-dollar business. Well, within a few years, within, I would say, 1.5 to 2 years of that, I had $1 million business, right? But it only comes from looking at where you are and being honest about where you desire to go, wholly and completely. And one of the major reasons why I was holding on to, I don't need to have $1 million business, because I had been trying for so long and I hadn't been able to do it to that point. At the point where I made the decision, I believe I was probably 40, 42 years old, somewhere around there, right? So at this point in my life, I'm like, if it hasn't happened by now, it's likely not going to happen. So let's set some realistic goals. And we're going to talk about that today. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to dive deep into the mistakes that I see entrepreneurs making that keeps their $1 million dreams at bay. I'm going to be pulling back the curtains and sharing my own journey as well, my own mistakes, my own successes, how these things have looked, how they show up in the undercurrent and the underbelly of what you're doing, not just even in the forefront. And sometimes we don't even pay attention to that. I'm also going to be chatting with a few of my friends who have crossed the $1 million mark, and a few clients who are on this journey as well. So you can see what really happens behind the scenes as you're growing and hitting your first six-figure month or hitting the biggest sales year that you've ever had. What happens behind the scenes that no one talks about, right? This is going to be a tell-all experience. I've talked about the stats before about the low percentage of people that ever cross $1 million. And I want to put that on its head. But I know that those statistics is what gets people lowballing in their business and having the desire to create something larger, but just not understanding. And for most of you, if you are attracted to me, if you follow me, if you're listening to my message, you are the first that will be doing this, right? There is no one in your sphere that's close to you. You don't have a family member. You don't have anyone to show you the path and the way. When I think about this, and I'm going to share a little bit more about this, but right now, my company has access to hundreds of thousands of dollars in lines of credit. That is it's mind-blowing to me, right? It's mind-blowing to me because when I was 18 years old, before I opened my first bank account, I was already in check system and couldn't open a bank account because identity theft was prevalent, right? And I lived in a place where no one cared. And so when I cashed my checks, I cashed them at a check cashing place. And when Walmart opened and became popular, I would cash them there, right? That was the kind of life that I lived. So even to look at my life, the other day, something was happening and I was like putting all the credit cards out, trying to figure out what was going on because it didn't make sense to me. Come to find out somebody was phishing and trying to scam us. But I was just like, that's crazy that I get to look through all these credit cards and try to figure out what the heck they're talking about. And my mind was blown at the fact that I was so shocked at it because they were trying to tell me I was behind on a credit card bill. And I was like, we pay them off every month. There's no balances. I don't know what you're talking about. Literally like calling every card, seeing if we missed something somewhere. That's a new reality, right? And so I want you to know who you're learning from. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. And so there was a lot that I had to unpack to become the type of woman who could allow herself to receive on this level and manage a business on this level. And that is what that's what I want to talk about, right? That's what I want to talk about. Before I dive into this with you, what I do want to share is I want to invite you to Game On Live event, because while I'm going to be sharing with you on these series, over the 3.5 days that we're going to be at Game On Live event, I am going to be unpacking and sharing strategies that can change the game for you starting this year. It's not going to be learn from me and then next year will be different. You are going to you're going to feel a shift inside of yourself, period. No one is going to leave the same. So I want you to know that registration for that is open. You go to gameonliveevent.com. The link is in the caption in the top, the description of this video. And there's also a link in the comments for gameonliveevent.com. We only have space. It's a small event. We only have space for 100 people. It's going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada, November 8th through November 11th. And I know that we're going to sell out. And when the tickets are gone, they're gone. And so if you're feeling pulled, I've been talking about this event for quite some time now, to be in the room, move, get your ticket, get your seat. Okay. Again, what I want you to understand is that you're not going to leave the same. So let me just talk about all 3 days of Game On Live event. There's 3 different levels of tickets. Your basic level ticket starts at $14.97, and we have VIP all the way up to our Savage tickets. I'm not going to go through those right now. I may do it during some of the other series, but you can go to the website to see all of that. I want to talk about how the days of Game On Live are broken down, and then I want to wrap this conversation with us talking about raising your game and what this series is going to be about and like for you. So on day 1, we're going to dive into identity recoding, as I call it. And here's what I know. What I know is that who you are today does not yet possess the capacity to create the millions. If she or he did, you'd already have them. And most of that is about how you see yourself and not anything else. The capability is there. You are coded for millions. It's in your DNA, right? It's there. But the capacity has not yet been expanded to be able to create it. And so day 1 is all about you remembering who the heck you are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to unlock what I call your supernova frequency. And we're going to eradicate any and all beliefs, behaviors, habits that you have, and break the back on every sneaky little fear and subconscious limiting conversation that you may be having that you don't even recognize is there, that's currently standing in the way and keeping you from your next level of power, purpose, and prosperity. So on day 1, I'm going to walk you through my proprietary process that will make it natural and easy for you to receive larger and larger sums of money faster and faster, right? We want to raise your frequency to receive more. We want to expand your capacity to receive more. We want to get you into overflow. And even more than that, we want to get you into accelerated overflow. I want you to be capable to hold, to not only bring in, but to hold it, to be able to maintain and grow it, more money than you've ever received in your entire life. So on day one alone can literally catapult you to generate more revenue in the next year than you've made in the last 10 years. I've seen it happen again and again. This is our 5th year doing this event. Day 2, that's when we're going to dive into strategy. So once we deal with identity, we're going to go into strategy, right? We're going to dive into the strategy behind those elusive, consistent 6-figure months, right? The building blocks to your millions. We're going to learn new strategies and the strategies that my clients are using, that I'm using. Here's the thing about me, and I want to share this. I don't teach what I don't currently do. So everything I share, I use to create the revenue in my own business, right? So I want to pull the curtain back and show you how we're selling to higher level clients with ease, without having a huge team, without having a huge list, without having to be on all the platforms all the time, trying to do all the things. And you're going to get a front row seat to learn the simple business model that I use to create a multi-million-dollar business with just a part-time assistant, a tiny list, and a small social following. Like my mentor says, one of my mentors said, you literally built a multi-million-dollar business with Facebook and a journal. And I was like, basically, yeah, that's true. Right? So I want to give you those simple, you're going to get simple, actionable strategies while you're there with us on day 2 for growth and solutions that are specific for your current business struggles, not just one size fits all. What I want you to understand about building a business to this degree, and I want you to lean in and hear me when I'm saying this. When you're building a business to this degree, it doesn't have to be complicated. And it gets to be easy. So it can be simple and easy. I don't work 24/7, don't even work on the weekends. I have seasons where I work more. Like this is a season where I work more. I've worked a few weekends over the last month and this month, and I probably will on next month. But for the rest of the year, I don't do any of those things, right? There's not grinding into the hours, and I run a multi-million-dollar business. It gets to be easy. And it can be simple, and I want to show you how, and it doesn't even have to be my way. It can be your way. The last day of Game On Live event is all about dynasty. I was going to put legacy, but people think legacy is just about, it is about your impact and your reach, and I want you to have that, but I want you to understand that you can build something that lasts. I'm about building real businesses and being able to pass that down to whomever you want and it being able to outlive you, right? And so day 3 is all about mastering your money, keeping more of it, and building long-term wealth, building a business dynasty. The mistake most entrepreneurs make is that they focus on making money. That's it, right? And here's the deal. Most of the entrepreneurs, only 2% of business owners ever cross the $1 million mark, and 76% of them never do it again. I actually just heard a stat about the Inc. 5000 list that like 68% of companies that make the Inc. 5000 list go out of business. And I was like, that is so crazy. But it's not crazy when I understand what happens when you're on the other side of this, right? What happens when you're on the other side when you're trying to stabilize, right? When you're trying to stabilize this level that you're at. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. Most people don't talk about, and most people cannot withstand. If you don't understand what's going on, or have somebody in your corner sharing you what you are experiencing is normal, and it's just something you have to go through, you will panic. So think about when you're on an airplane, right? Whenever there's turbulence on the airplane, what the plane does to get around the turbulence is rise above it, right? That's what stabilizes the airplane. So most people think turbulence means, oh no, we need to turn back and go back down. Let's go back to the airport. When the reality of it is that what feels like chaos is actually you just needing to normalize the level that you're at. If you don't understand that game, you cannot hold it. I want you guys to understand that, right? So I want you to not be a part of the percentage of people who just make money and are not able to hold it. So I'm bringing in my friends to speak to you and talk to you about everything we know about high-level money mastery and systems for sustaining, protecting, and growing your $1 million dynasty. And here's the thing. The one thing I understand, even though I was able to do this very beautifully, is make money to keep my business running. What I know is that money and limited access to capital can not only be a hurdle for you in your business, it can actually be a roadblock. So many people try to run their businesses like they run their personal finances. It's not the same thing. We want to use other people's money, right? So some of you may be feeling like you see the potential for growth, but you can't move. You can't make decisions to hire people. There's things you cannot do to grow your business because you can't secure the necessary funds for expansion. And that leaves you frustrated, right? So I want to share how I went from somebody who barely, could figure out how to pay the next thing in my business to having hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit lines for my business. And again, it still blows my mind. So it's not just about how to make the money. And here's something that I learned and why this is an important conversation for me. I don't teach this stuff, right? I'm going to bring other people in to teach it. I used to be in financial services. So I used to be a business credit girl, credit repair girl. I know all the stuff, right? Which is why we have access to the amount of credit lines that we do. But that's not what I teach. I'm bringing other experts in to teach you this stuff during Game On Live. Here's what I know. What I saw when I first started getting really good at teaching other people how to make money is this bubble effect that would happen to people. I teach them how to make a lot of money really fast. And then they go out and do a bunch of stuff, put a lot of pressure on themselves. They buy houses, do cars, do all the things because they were experiencing this expansion so fast. And then there's a collapse. And so there are foundational things that you must put in place to be able to protect just the bare bones minimum of things you're, and this includes like your legal team and IP and all those things. And here's the thing, if you don't make money first, you can't even start to look at those things. So once you make money, what do we do with it? Looking at it after you've made the money, it's too late. So we put this into our programs and we put this into Game On Live. So again, if you want to come to Game On Live, go to Game On Live event. I think it's really important that these 3 areas be focused on. When you leave this event, you will be a money-making badass. Period. End of discussion. GameOnLiveEvent.com. Okay, so here's how I want to wrap this conversation for today. This is the foundational piece for the Raise Your Game series. And I just want to share a couple of things. I gave you the questions that I want you to answer. Real businesses make money. I see a lot of conversations, a lot of people posting things like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I won't be trying to sell you. You're trying to be nice. But everyone knows that if you're in business, you make money, right? And so if you're not making enough money, it's hard to stay in business. And what I want you to be able to do as we go through the series is I want you to learn how to hold these 2 spaces that happen. It's a game we play inside of my community. We set realistic expectations, and I'm going to give you a few examples, but we're open to unrealistic results. I'm open to mind-blowing results to show up, but my expectations, when I'm looking at facts over my feelings, those are realistic. I know I can do it. It regulates my nervous system to know that I could do a thing, but I'm open to unrealistic results. That's the game that we play. And what I want you to understand is the pressure to do millions if you haven't done 6 figures is a ridiculous amount of pressure to put yourself on, right? Even in my community, we start with, what's your first 10K? And then it's like, what's your first 10K month, right? We move from there. How can you do that faster and faster? How can we get 100K under your belt? So now if you can maintain $10,000 minimum every single month, you're going to make your first 6 figures. Now that we got that 6 figures down, we can now start instituting the 100K sleigh and learning how to do that faster and faster because it's in your cellular memory how to do it. Again, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, in order for you to enter into this conversation with me, you must understand that 100K is just the pregame. It's just the warm-up. It's just the starting. It's not the goal. That's the building block. examples of what I'm talking about: realistic expectations and being open to unrealistic results. So I've celebrated a couple of clients. There's two that I'm talking about right now because they're both on this journey of doing more than they've ever done in their lives. The first one was Jessica, which we celebrated her first six-figure month. And Jessica experienced this expansion and contraction. It happens to a lot of people. You expand and you're holding it, and then things happen because it's not stabilized and you end up contracting. So she talked about this during her case study video with me. If you haven't seen it, you can go watch it. But she says she was at $60,000 a month. She would do $40,000 to $60,000 a month, and that was just like normal. And then something happened and her whole business just imploded. And she was trying to figure out how to make $4,000 or $5,000 every single month when she hired me. We are just about entering into 60 days in. I don't know where she is right now. Last time I checked, she was nearing $200,000 in revenue. So she already had, remember I said the ability to do it, the capability to do it is there. Capacity, it's not there. Her goal in the interim, because she was doing $5,000 a month, was to do $50,000 in 90 days. That is realistic expectation, because it's been 6 months and I've only been doing about $5,000 a month, right? It's realistic expectation, open for unrealistic results. And that looks different for people. So that's an example of a really fast, rapidly expanding person. And I want you to apply this to yourself, right? This is the real conversation we need to have, because some of you guys put pressure on yourself by setting crazy, unrealistic results. Let me give you an example, right? I'm not even going to talk about dollar amounts. An example would be, all right, I'm going to have a launch and I'm going to do a masterclass, or I'm going to do a challenge, and I want to bring 5 people. I'm going to bring 10 people into my $10,000 program. And my launch, what's today? Today is September 19th. I only know that because my daughter's birthday was yesterday. And my launch is going to be August 6th. That's when we're going to start. So you got 2 weeks, right? Maybe 3. That's an unrealistic expectation, because you need more time to get the message out there, unless you already have a already engaged and buying audience who, when you say boo, they jump. When you say jump, they say how high, right? If that's not your experience, then you need more time. So we want to set realistic expectations and allow for unrealistic results. We're open for unrealistic results, because I'm not trying to be, my feet aren't planted in realistic, right? Again, this timing can be different. So again, apply it to yourself and see where you might be pushing yourself unrealistically. When I was at $200,000, I wasn't trying to make $1 million in the next year, right? When I was at 300,000, I wasn't trying to make $1 million in the next year, but I was open to all possibilities. This is how I've been able to double my revenue year over year. What are the things I can control and focus on and make sure that I do that don't put undue stress on me? I have a client who's been with me 2.5 years. We were having a text conversation in DM this morning. And actually, she shared this in our mastermind yesterday. 2.5 years she's been in the program. She started in sales school and then moved into Next Level Authority. So this is her 2nd year in Next Level Authority. Her first year was just peeling the layers off the onion. Her first year was recognizing where she was stopping herself. This year, you cannot stop her. She made 6 figures in her business in the first 10 months. She's now a few $1,000s away from her first 6-figure month. So it looks different, right? Speeding up and the collapsing time looks different for each person, but it's about allowing yourself to just be, right? She just recently sold the highest dollar amount program she's ever sold at a little over $50,000. I think it is 55,000. That's why it came out that way, at 55,000. But if I had talked to her about selling that $55,000 thing 2 years ago when she started, she probably would have broke down in tears and had so much pressure around it, right? She needed that time to grow into the person who was capable of doing that. So that's what I mean about realistic expectations, right? But being open to unrealistic results. I'm open to miracles. We are open for miracles to come, but we're being clear about ourselves so that we can grow into the person as quickly as we possibly can. And she also shared that it took her, she had a previous business, it took her 6 years to grow that business to 6 figures, right? In 2.5 years, she's done it in this business, and she's now about to experience her first 6-figure month. 6 years for 6 figures. Collapsed down to 10 months for 6 figures. Or let's just say 2.5 years. She did it in a 10-month time frame, but 2.5 years. Collapsed down to in 30 days, she's about to create 6 figures. So the conversation I want you to have with yourself is a realistic conversation, but I also want you to give yourself grace. So I'm going to go back to those questions at the top, because I don't want to belabor this, because we're going to jump into this conversation and talk about a bunch of other things on the next few days. We're going to dive into some strategies over the next few days. We're going to have conversations with clients and some of my friends over the next few days. It's going to be powerful for you, but I want you to take a look at and journal through the reality. Don't guess in your gut. Go look at your payment processor. Where do you stand in your business this year financially? Are you on pace according to those numbers, those facts, to hit your goals? Are you behind? Are you ahead of schedule? And the last thing that I want you to get real about is how you feel about that. How do I feel about it? And when I say get real about it, I'm hopelessly optimistic. It's who I be. And it used to be to my detriment before I really started to master this concept. Hopelessly optimistic. I'd be like, but it can happen. Anything could happen. And I want you to remove that veil from your life of, I hope it's getting better. We want to speak the positive. I want you to be positive. I want you to feel positive about what you're doing, but I also want you to be in reality of what it's going to take for you to create that. When you're not in reality, the thing that I see, and I'll give you some crazy examples so that you can understand, is I'll have somebody tell me they want to make 6 figures by the end of the year, but they're selling a $1,500 offer. So then I go do the math. How many clients would you need to sell? I don't even know what the math is, right? Let's say they're $50,000 behind. So that would be like 45 clients. I'm just making this up. Math's probably really wrong. And then I'll ask, have you ever sold 45 clients in 90 days? What's the most you've ever, they'll say no. What's the most you've ever sold? Well, in the past 90 days, I've had 5 clients. Is there any time in your life where you've sold that many clients? No, the most I've ever done is 7. That's what I mean. Get real. Doesn't mean lower your expectations. It doesn't mean lower the goal. But once you're real and the veil is off, now we can pivot. Now we can see, oh, maybe I need to focus on a different offer. This is one of the things that stopped me from focusing on my low-end offer, my entry-level offer, because people were teaching that you needed to like step people up. And I believed them. And I was doing it, to selling people whatever it is that they need and actually focusing on bringing people into my highest level offer, not just for the money, but also understanding if I wanted people to have the highest probability of the deepest transformation, that it was actually my mastermind or working with me privately. It wasn't the smaller things that I was selling at the time. That pivot changed the game. I've been able to impact more lives, and I've been able to impact my life and my family's lives as a result of that as well. Because people are getting incredible results because they're actually in the program that gets them the results. So these conversations, these questions, me telling you to get in reality, is about you being able to pivot. It's about you being able to move more quickly. It's about you being able to look and go, yeah, there's 100 days left in this year. However, there's still time for me to create this goal if I focus on the right things. So that's the baseline we want to be at to start this conversation off, is in reality. So spend some time with yourself answering those questions about where you are in your business. And then you're going to look at making some adjustments. Do you need to adjust your price? Do you need to adjust your focus for the end of the year? Focus on the program, focus on how you're marketing, who you're marketing to. What adjustments do you need to make? Do you need to adjust your pricing? What needs to adjust? What would have to happen? 2 questions. What would have to happen in order for you to actually finish this year hitting your goal? And who would you need to become? Who would you need to become? And know that the thing that has to happen or what you need or who you need to become has nothing to do with no one else. Your inclination is going to be like, I need to find people who could pay me $50,000. That's not it. My client who just closed her first $55,000 sale, I've been holding her in the process of not giving up on that offer for more than 30 days. She almost gave up last week. I said, nope, this is the focus. Sold the first one last week, this weekend, maybe yesterday. Don't remember the date, right? You got to be able to hold it. So that's what I want you to do. We're going to come back and have this conversation starting next week. That's the baseline. Come back to this video. If you're watching the recording, if you're watching on the podcast, you can also comment, but share with me any revelations that you're having with yourself that you would like for me to stand or witness with you, because this is going to be an ongoing conversation that we're going to have over the next few weeks. One more time, ʀᴏᴜ Live event is coming. If you know you need a breakthrough in your business and you need it to happen before the end of this year, get yourself in the room. Go to ʀᴜliveevent.com. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment, like right now. I'm not going to stop talking.